A strange phenomenon is appearing in the Florida wetlands. Dozens of giant pythons, more than 4 meters long and weighing over 30 kilograms, have been found dead. Their bodies are completely intact, with not a single scratch on their scales. But the entire heads of these pythons have disappeared with absolute precision. The attacker delivered only one bite, bringing down the giant animal and taking away its skull. There were no signs of a struggle. These giant pythons were already the most dangerous predators in the area. They can open their mouths as wide as 26 centimeters and swallow an entire deer weighing 35 kilograms. They have caused 99% of the populations of many small animal species in Florida to disappear. With that size and strength, almost no animal dares to confront them directly. So what kind of creature could sever the head of a giant python so perfectly? When experts entered the small bite marks found on the neck bones of the pythons into analysis software, the result came back as coyotes. A coyote weighs only between 11 and 16 kilograms, about 1/10 the weight of a giant python. In a direct confrontation, the python could constrict the coyote and break its ribs in less than 2 minutes. But coyotes do not rely on strength. They rely on intelligence. Hidden cameras have recorded their tactic. A python's eyes are positioned on the sides of its head, giving it very clear vision toward the front, but creating a complete blind spot behind the neck. Coyotes understand this weakness extremely well. When a python is basking in the sun or digesting a meal, its body moves very slowly. The coyote approaches silently from behind. It does not bite the python's body. It drives its canine teeth directly into the skull, piercing the membrane around the brain. Immediately, the signal pathway from the brain is cut off. The python becomes completely paralyzed before it can even realize it has been attacked. The coyote then breaks open the skull to eat the fat-rich brain tissue and leaves the giant body behind. The most interesting part is that coyotes were not born knowing how to do this. In the past, they often ran away when they smelled a python. But a few coyotes accidentally discovered this weakness. They began teaching one another. Young coyotes learned from adults. A mammal species is sharing hunting skills with one another to eliminate giant pythons. But coyotes are not the only animals that have learned how to fight back. Beneath the water, an equally disturbing and bizarre scene unfolded, leading to an actual explosion. In 2005, wetland patrol officers photographed an image that shocked the entire United States. A 4-meter python had its abdomen blown open. From inside its stomach, the head and legs of a 2-meter alligator were protruding through the body. The python had swallowed the alligator whole, but the alligator was not completely dead, and combined with methane gas produced during digestion in the hot weather, the python's stomach expanded beyond its limit and ruptured. This incident demonstrated that confrontations between alligators and giant pythons can produce extremely violent consequences. More recently, a massive male alligator launched a surprise attack, using its bite force to crush the body of a 50-kilogram python and swallow it within seconds. Alligators are not the only animals fighting back, because smaller species have also found ways to resist. A bobcat, a wild feline weighing only 11 kilograms, was filmed confronting a 4-meter female python. The bobcat constantly moved in circles, dodging strikes from the giant python and using its claws to slash directly at the snake's eyes in order to take its eggs. Meanwhile, river otters use a group-based strategy. A group of 8 otters, each weighing only about 10 kilograms, surrounded a 3-meter python underwater. The otters swam in circles. Whenever the python exposed its neck, one otter rushed in, bit down tightly, and repeatedly twisted its body. This rotational force tore through the thick scales, causing the python to lose blood. The otters repeatedly forced the 30-kilogram python underwater until it became exhausted and had to flee. These are the unbelievable events happening in the United States. And what about you? Which country are you watching this video from? Quickly comment the name of your country below, and let's see whether it is safer there than in the Florida wetlands. However, the resistance of the natural ecosystem appears to be insufficient as increasingly oversized pythons continue to be discovered deep underground. Although the number of pythons being eliminated is increasing, their size also appears to be growing to unbelievable levels. During one remarkable survey, scientists captured the largest python ever recorded in Florida. It measured as much as 5.7 meters long and weighed 97 kilograms. It was so large that 5 adult men were needed to lift it off the ground. When scientists examined it internally, they discovered that this female python was carrying as many as 122 eggs. Consider the math. If just one giant python like this escapes, more than 100 additional young pythons could enter the wetlands the following season. So, how can these giant pythons survive the cold winter when they are naturally tropical animals? The secret lies underground. The Florida wetlands are home to the gopher tortoise. This tortoise can dig extensive burrow systems deep beneath the ground, where temperatures remain stable and warm. The giant pythons discovered this advantage. Instead of digging their own shelters, they crawl into the tortoise burrows, eat the resident tortoises themselves, and then take over the underground systems to escape the cold. The decline of wildlife in the wetlands today is frightening. More than 90 animal species have disappeared. Populations of American raccoons and marsh rabbits have declined by 99%. Realizing that the ecosystem is approaching complete collapse, humans have been forced to intervene using methods never attempted before. To confront the ecological crisis, Florida authorities launched the annual Python Challenge, attracting thousands of professional hunters from around the world. The rules are simple. Whoever catches the most pythons wins money. A well-known hunter named Taylor Stanbury set a record by catching 60 pythons in a single season, earning a prize of $10,000. These hunters work by the hour for a base wage, but they receive an additional $50 for every python longer than 1.2 meters. And for every additional 30 centimeters, they earn another $25. These hunters often enter the deep forest at night, using their bare hands to grab the heads of giant pythons hiding in the brush. But there is one question many people wonder about. Why do we not catch these pythons for meat, turning them into food to reduce their numbers? Humans cannot safely eat Florida pythons because their bodies contain extremely high levels of mercury. The wetlands here accumulated large amounts of mercury from industrial activities over previous decades. Giant pythons sit at the top of the food chain. As they consume thousands of smaller animals, mercury accumulates inside their bodies. Tests show that mercury concentrations in Florida python meat can be dozens of times higher than safe levels. Eating their meat could cause serious brain damage in humans. The final protection preventing these pythons from being consumed by people is, ironically, environmental pollution itself. To create high-quality videos and uncover exclusive information like this, our team has worked extremely hard. If you find this video interesting, please take 1 second to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel to support us. Unable to use them as food, and with manual capture requiring more manpower than humans can provide, scientists have been forced to turn to high-tech tracking tools. Scientists began turning small animals into living tracking devices. They fitted American raccoons with GPS tracking collars. One night, the heartbeat signal from one raccoon stopped, but its GPS continued moving close to the ground. 30 days later, researchers followed the signal and captured a female python weighing 30 kilograms. The python had digested all the flesh and bones, but expelled the plastic GPS casing completely intact, without suffering any damage to its digestive system. But the most effective strategy currently in use is known as the scout snake method. Experts capture male pythons, implant radio transmitters inside their bodies, and release them back into the wild. During breeding season, sexual instinct drives these males to travel for kilometers in search of females. Large female pythons often hide deep underground where humans cannot see them, but thanks to the signal transmitted by the scout python, experts can determine their exact location. This strategy guides experts directly to enormous underground mating aggregations, where dozens of male pythons coil tightly around a single female, forming a mass of flesh weighing hundreds of kilograms. In addition, researchers use environmental DNA analysis from wetland water samples to locate hidden pythons within a radius of 100 meters. Combined with drones equipped with thermal infrared cameras operating at night, a high-tech hunting network is tightening around every corner of the wetlands. With all this technology and the counterattack from native wildlife, you might think the giant pythons are being pushed back. But the truth is exactly the opposite. They are changing from within their own genetic code, creating an entirely new kind of animal. The threat does not end with predation, because these pythons also carry a dangerous biological weapon, invasive lungworms from Asia. The pythons' bodies have completely adapted to them and suffer no serious effects. But when these blood-feeding worms spread to Native American snakes, such as rattlesnakes and indigo snakes, they can cause severe pulmonary hemorrhaging and mass deaths among rare native reptiles. This threat has even reached Florida's iconic apex predator, the Florida panther, with only about 200 individuals now remaining in the wild. Satellite data show giant pythons moving directly into the panther's last core hunting areas, competing for prey and severely degrading the habitat of this rare predator. Pythons originally come from tropical regions, so they are highly vulnerable to cold temperatures. In previous years, when temperatures suddenly fell below 10 degrees Celsius, thousands of pythons became paralyzed and froze to death. But current reports indicate that the proportion of pythons surviving harsh winters is increasing very rapidly. When scientists analyzed their DNA, they discovered a frightening truth. The pythons in Florida were no longer genetically pure. They had hybridized with another species, the Indian rock python. This python moves faster on land, is more aggressive, and most importantly, tolerates cold temperatures extremely well. This natural hybridization has created a new generation of hybrid python. They grow faster and may be capable of expanding northward into states with colder winters, moving beyond Florida's borders. This change is happening so quickly that humans are considering an extreme measure that has triggered major controversy around the world. Scientists are proposing the use of gene editing technology. Their idea is to alter the genes of male pythons in a laboratory. Once released into the wild, these males would mate with females, and all resulting offspring would either be male or sterile. In this way, the giant python population could automatically collapse within just a few generations because there would no longer be enough females to reproduce. However, this idea is facing fierce opposition from many organizations. They fear that if these pythons carrying infertility genes somehow escaped the United States and made their way back to Asia, they could cause natural python species around the world to become extinct. An intervention in one place could become an ecological disaster somewhere else. The Florida wetlands are witnessing a high-speed evolutionary race. Coyotes, otters, and bobcats are learning to change their attack strategies every day in order to survive. Humans are constantly upgrading tracking devices, infrared cameras, and even genetic interventions. Meanwhile, giant pythons are also changing their DNA to become a more formidable version of themselves, better able to tolerate cold and grow to even greater sizes. The headless python incidents are only one small chapter in a much larger story about how living organisms change in order to survive. Will the intelligence of native wildlife and human technology advance quickly enough to stop these hybrid pythons from multiplying? Or will these giant reptiles continue evolving and spreading into new territories? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to continue following the strangest phenomena around the world. See you in the next video.